welcome to lesson 3 of the hashtag Make Your Bed Challenge. I'm so excited to have you back here and I hope that you have been looking forward to it. So I just quickly, before we start, want to recap on what we went through last week. So obviously the main learning from last week was that it's your life, you are in control, and you always have a choice. So whilst we cannot control what happens to us, we can always control and choose our reaction. Now, for many people, that's going to be quite a hard thing to have learned over the last week. And I just want to know, how did you get on with it? Did you manage to work with it? Did you kind of see the power in it, that even through all this uncertainty, you could choose how you wanted to kind of put yourself out there and how you wanted to respond? I really hope that you found strength in it and that it has kind of fueled you to make slightly different choices and slightly different decisions in response to the pandemic, and how you're feeling and how you're focusing on your work or the future or what's just going on in your kind of day-to-day life. Next question is, how did you get on with the challenges? Did you do the challenges? Did you sit down and write the letter from your future self? Did you stick it in that envelope, and did you write "End of Global Pandemic" on the front? Have you put it somewhere safe for you to open later? I promise you that if you have been doubting yourself, or if you've been choosing to maybe not do this and think, that weird lady is on it again with some other random challenge, then I would say to you, yes, it might sound really random, but it is a really powerful exercise to do, because when you get to the end of the global pandemic, and I will remind you, we will get to the end. What did I say last week? Everything that starts has to finish. It is just the way things go. They have a beginning and they have an end. And right now, we're in the middle. But when you get to the end and you get to open that letter and you realise what you wrote to yourself from that place of fear and anxiety and uncertainty, how strong you really are as an individual. So if you haven't done it, please go and do it. You can do it after this challenge. And of course, the next thing, how did you get on with writing about your feelings? Was it quite hard? I am very fortunate, and I have and see a therapist. Obviously at the moment it's virtual, but I have always really struggled with my feelings and my emotions, so I find it quite challenging, and this exercise for me was really hard, but I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at owning the way that I feel, and I have really noticed the benefits through the last 5-6 weeks of being at home and of feeling really frustrated and angry and cross. And when I can stand there and say, normally to Ryan, why I'm angry, you know, for example, when the lockdown was extended, I was so angry, but taking ownership of that made me feel really empowered and helped me then to deal with it and move on and just accept, okay, Joe, that's what's happened. Great that you were angry. Great that you could sit with that anger. And now what are we going to do about that? So if you haven't done that, go and do that. And of course, your 8 I am statements. So your I am statements are so powerful, and we are going to bring them back into this course kind of later on. So I hope that you have managed to get them down. You've condensed them into your 8, started with your 20, got them down into your 8. And they are just simple affirmations that you can tell yourself that you are those things. You are strong. You are brave. You are courageous, and you can get through this. Before we start, guys, this is a quick reminder. If you haven't got a pen and paper, go and get one now, because you are 5 times more likely to retain knowledge, information, a belief if you write it down. So go grab it and then carry on. Let's dive into lesson 3, which is on one of my all-time favourite topics, which is gratitude and habits. Now, these are massive topics, so I'm going through them in a slightly condensed fashion, but if you have any questions afterwards, you want to know more, then let me know. Gratitude, just amazing. It is one of the best and most fascinating topics out there, and in my opinion, it is the key to changing your mindset. Oprah is amazing, but Oprah has been quoted as saying many things. One of the things that I love that she has said is that if you focus on what you don't have, you will never have enough. If you focus on what you do have, you will always have more than enough. Let me say that again for you at the back. If you focus on what you don't have, you will never have enough. And if you focus on what you do have, you will always have more than enough. How cool is that? How powerful is that? How amazing is that she can articulate that so clearly, so powerfully, and so well that we can then learn from it and implement it. So when you focus on what you don't have, let's say you want to be going to university in September and moving into halls, or you want to have passed your driving test and be driving a new Mini, or you want to be hanging out with your friends, you want to be going to festival in the summer. You know, all those things are right now things that you can't have. So when you focus on them, you will never have them. You will never have enough. Because you cannot have those things. You can't go and pass your driving test. You can't go to your leavers ball next week. You can't do those things you wanted to because the world we're in right now does not allow it. So what about if you focused on what you do have? What do you have? You have an amazing wardrobe of clothes. You have a dog that loves you. You have a great kitchen with a wooden floor that you can dance on. When you focus on what you do have, you have more than enough. Let's talk about gratitude. Every single day, I start with a gratitude practice. And for me, that looks like sitting down with my notebook and writing an entire page of things that I'm grateful for. Now, my notebook isn't huge, so there are only 23 lines. Most people, when they start challenges like this, start with 3 or 5 things to be grateful for because it's all about changing your mindset. Our default behaviour is to be negative, is to look for anxiety and to feel anxious about stuff. But we can choose to look for gratitude, and we can choose to look for joy, we can choose to look for things that pick us up. But we actually have to make a conscious choice there. You know how when you've had an amazing day and someone's been really lovely to you and everything's gone really well, and then one person says something mean or negative, you focus on that so much harder and with so much more grip than you did on all those amazing things that someone else has said about you and other people have done and how you felt, and you focus on the one negative. So that's kind of what we're trying to change here. We're trying to move our focus away from that and go, sure, this happens, acknowledge it, fine, whatever. But focusing on the good, focusing on the great, focusing on the things that we are grateful for. I get up and I sit down and I write down a list. So as we just know, my page is the 23 lines in my notebook. Just 23 things I'm grateful for. Some days I rattle them off. I'm like, yes, I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful for this. You know, so many different things. And some days I sit there and I'm like, this is really hard. What am I grateful for? And I literally sit there and I think, what am I grateful for? Like, yesterday was really hard. and I cried, and I don't know, we didn't make any money, or like it's gonna be really hard, and you're like, how can I find gratitude in that? My friend cancelled her wedding. I'm not grateful for that. But it's about changing your mindset. It's about looking between that. So it's those, and so you're looking for the little things. You're looking for the little things that will pick you up. So for me, you want to focus on the small things, on the tiny little things that are in there, that are in every single day. We just don't look at them. So if we think about what might be on my list. Okay, so a great cup of tea. I used to make my tea, like probably most people do. Tea bag in, hot water, milk, spludge, squeeze my tea bag in the bin, unless I was making pot, in which case it was way nicer. And B, in the office, would make tea very differently. She would pour water onto her tea bag, she'd leave her tea for a few minutes, and then she'd come back and add her milk and take it away with her. And I tried this and I realised the tea was so much nicer her way. God, amazing. And so I've started doing that, and I am so grateful now for a cup of tea that is really, sometimes you really nail that tea and it's like, oh, the best thing ever. So maybe you like coffee or something else, but for me, I'm all about Yorkshire tea. So I feel so grateful for that. So that's something that's often on my list. A small thing, like might be that I'm drinking that tea as I'm writing my gratitude list, or it might be that I made it and I just sat there for 5 minutes in a comfy chair in my sitting room with the dog and drank this great cup of tea, or looking out on the view, or out in the garden. Other things that I might be grateful for are things like, the tulips in our garden. Ryan and I are terrible gardeners. And my mum gave us some tulips, and they're outside the window. And they came up and we were like, this is amazing. And they're massive and they're so beautiful. And I just, I'm really grateful for that. Or I might be really grateful for Dodo behaving herself on a dog walk. She's a full-on spaniel, and some days she's brilliant, and I'm just so grateful for her for that. Other things might be, that Ryan made a terrible joke and made me laugh, or that the rain. I love the rain. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen my obsession with the rain, as we've had rain last week. And I absolutely love it. So I'm really grateful for that. So it's about looking for those things rather than looking for the big things. So of course, right, we must be grateful for the big things. Like having a roof over our heads, having food to eat, having great clothes, all of that stuff. But you want to then look for the little things. So you want to really hone in on the little moments that you are grateful for within your day. And they are there. They are scattered amongst it. It might be that you saw a butterfly. Or in our garden, we've got a robin, and he likes to come and hang out. We had a bonfire for ages, but we burnt the bonfire, not the robin. And he goes and sits on the bench or on the hedge, and I just love that. I think that's super cool. Or the view. God, there are so many things in life to be grateful for. And they're the things that we can choose to be grateful for. We're in control of what we're grateful for. What's on in our head is what we choose. So you can choose that gratitude. So if you are grateful for what you have in your life, you will experience joy. You will feel so much better, inwardly better. And when we are something, we attract more of that into our lives. So if we are grateful and joyful, we will spot more things to be grateful and joyful for in our lives. So it's this cycle that just builds and builds. It kind of compounds, a bit like in the old days of compound interest when you could earn lots of money from doing nothing. It's like that. If you practice this gratitude, you experience joy, and the more joy you experience, the more gratitude you experience, the more gratitude, the more joy, and so it goes on, so on and so forth. And you can change your life. You can change your mindset. Now that you have started your day from a place of gratitude, what about joy? I want to talk about feeling joyful now. And I want to talk about it because I think a lot of us feel guilty for feeling joyful right now, for feeling joy and happy amongst so much hardship, amongst so many restrictions, amongst, you know, your friend's relative passing away. And you can feel really guilty and bad, basically, for feeling joy in those moments. But I want you to choose joy anyway. So it is possible to experience more than one feeling at the same time, to hold them both in your heart or in your head at the same time. So you could experience joy and pain together, or joy and grief. You know when you're grieving and you find yourself laughing or smiling about something in that moment, quite often we catch ourselves and we think, oh gosh, I'm meant to be grieving, I shouldn't be joyful. And that's just not how it is. You were both of those things in that moment, and you can be. You can be joyful in grief, and you can be joyful in pain and joyful in hardship. So, but you have to choose it. As I mentioned before, natural default, as we've talked about, where you cling on to the negative, you focus on that one negative comment or that one criticism over all the other positives. And it's the same thing here. So we sort of avert away from choosing joy right now. So you really have to fight to choose joy. You really have to look for it, and you really have to intentionally put it into your life. So it starts with gratitude, and as I said, you have gratitude, you see more joy, it brings you joy. You have more joy, you have more things to be grateful for, it brings more joy, like so on and so forth. It keeps going. It all starts with gratitude. And so choose to be grateful, and therefore choose to be joyful. You have a choice. I said it last week, and I will say it every single week. It's a fundamental belief. You have a choice. You can choose. And in this moment, you can choose to be grateful and to be joyful. Next, I want to talk about habits. Habits and rituals. I know I briefly mentioned it in the intro and probably back in lesson 1, but habits and rituals for me are just fundamentally key. And the reason for that is I learned a really fascinating statistic earlier. I was looking into it in a bit more detail. And did you know that they say on average 40 to 50%, but actually the scope can be as wide as 40 to 90%. Let's focus on 40 to 50% of the things we do every single day are habits, subconscious habits. We don't even know that we're doing them. Isn't that mental? Like, you know how you go to breakfast and then you come back and you do your teeth? Like, that's just a habit. You don't think about not doing it. You don't think about doing it. You just do it. It's like a subconscious action. It's a bit like driving. If you are driving from A to B and, I don't know, to and from work or to and from school, and have you ever got to the destination and thought, how on earth did I get here? That was habit. It got you there. It knew what you were doing. Your subconscious was doing it. So your habits, if 40 to 50% of your time, in an average person, worst case 40 to 90%, can you imagine 90% of your life being done subconsciously? If that's you, I really need to come around there and sort of shake you a little bit and go, come on, take control of your life. Stop letting your subconscious rule. It doesn't get to rule. Anyway, 40 to 50% of what you're doing are habits, and you're not even thinking about it. So what if those things that you're doing aren't great for you? Like, what if a habit is eating an entire packet of crisps every night before supper, and always having 4 Diet Cokes, and going to bed at 1 in the morning, and spending 8 hours a day on your phone. What about that? None of them are good habits, are they? None of them are going to make you the best version of yourself at all. So we need to think about the habits that we spend 40 to 50% of our time doing subconsciously. I want you to think about something. I want you to think about the person that you are now. And then I want you to think about the best version of yourself that you could be. And what does the best version of yourself do differently to the person now? Do they work out every day? Do they drink loads of water without even having to think about? Do they have loads of energy? Do they feel confident in themselves? Who are they? Who is that best version of yourself? Because when we know what that person is, you can go back and think about the habits that you will need to implement and change to get there. There are so many habits, and in this session I don't really want to go into all of the different habits that we can talk about, but I really want you to be aware that our habits are so important. So when I want to bring a habit into your life, I really want you to work at doing that, because it will be one thing that will help you get one step closer to being the best version of yourself. I was just in the middle of filming when the door went, and I wanted to share it with you as a total digression because it's something that I'm going to be really grateful for, and I feel so grateful for it right now. I just got a parcel through the post, and it's a book, Grow All You Can Eat in 3 Square Feet. We built a vegetable patch a few weeks ago, not that we have any compost yet, but this is a little book and a card from my mum, and that feels pretty cool right now. I feel so grateful to have a mummy that wants to send me things, who is thoughtful, and I just feel really loved. So you can, little things, guys, little things are what matter. Back to what I was teaching on, I wanted to say that I follow this chap on Instagram called Ed Milet, and he is one of the top motivational speakers, probably, well, in America, and if not, probably just across the world as well. He's pretty cool, and I saw a post that he had written about what he does on the days when he has zero motivation. And I felt at the time that was really relevant, but I feel that's even more relevant right now, because the chances of you sitting there at home feeling super motivated about life all of the time right now is really unlikely. It's hard to be motivated in times of anxiety, uncertainty, change, through times when your A-levels have been thrown up in the air, through times when you don't even know if you're going to get to go to university or get to go travelling. It's really hard to be motivated through this. Now, motivation is not about wanting to do something. It's about having the strength to do the thing that you don't want to do. So let me say that again in case you didn't get it. Motivation is not about wanting to do something. It's about finding the strength to do the thing anyway. We are never going to want to always do those things that we have to do. Let's say it's fitness. And when we talk about kind of working out every day, some days I don't want to go on a run. I really don't. I want to stay in bed. But motivation is not going to make me love that bit. It makes me do it anyway. So I get up and I go, and obviously the moment I get out, I love it. But sometimes it's the getting out there that's really hard, and that's motivation. That thing is motivation. Making you do the thing even when you don't want to do it. You do it anyway. Back to Ed. Now, he explained how on those days when he has zero motivation, he manages to stay vaguely on track, because you're never going to smash it entirely. He said, motivation and inspiration are never your constant companion. It is your habits and your rituals that will carry you through on the days when you are not motivated. It is the habits and the rituals that will carry you through. And bearing in mind that I mentioned earlier on about the habits and rituals being 40 to 50% of us doing them happen as a subconscious level, and we don't even know that we're doing them. So if those habits are positive, if those habits are drink all the water, do the exercise, eat the food, do the learning, whatever they might be, if those are the habits that we have in our lives, that will get us through on the days when we're not motivated. But if the habits are negative habits or don't support us in our quest to be our best self, then those habits will be what will get us through on the days when we're not motivated, but they won't be getting us towards being our best self, will they? Because those habits are not in line with being our best self. Being our best self is where we are aiming for. It's what, in my view, as individuals, we should all be striving to be the best version of ourselves. It's a constant work in progress kind of vibe. You don't just suddenly get there and tick all the boxes. But we should all be striving for that. And that means putting in habits and rituals right here, right now, that help us get there. Because those will carry you through on the days when you don't think you can. This is why we need to nail that habit of gratitude down. You need to nail it down so freaking hard that it will never leave you. That when life is hard, as it is now, when the next time you enter a global pandemic, you feel okay. When someone passes away and you can still choose gratitude, that is what we are striving for. Life is going to be bumpy. There are going to be ups, there are going to be downs, highs and lows. And right now it's probably more testing for us and you and me than it has ever been. But you have to get this habit nailed because it will carry you through the tough times. It will carry you through on the days when you're not motivated. It will carry you through when it's hard. How do we go about building this habit? How does someone go from not focusing on gratitude ever, start focusing on gratitude? Building habits is really, really hard. People argue that it takes 21 days to build a habit and 90 days for it to kind of become fully ingrained. When you build a habit, when you're trying to build anything into your life, you fall off, right? We've talked about this before. And I'll say it now, I'll say it again, I'll say it many times. When you fall off the bandwagon, what is the most important thing? Getting back up again, going again, trying again. That is what matters. And I believe that when we build habits, we will all fall off the bandwagon all the time. Like, don't you dare beat yourself up because you think old Janet is going to be nailing it and have done it every single day, and therefore you fell off after day one, and so why should you bother? Hell, you don't think about Janet. Think about yourself. Just get back up and try again. Don't worry if you didn't get up the next day and try. You got, and it weighed on your mind, and maybe 5 days after you fell off, you thought, maybe I'll get back up. Get back up then. Go on, get up and try again. Because when we're building these habits, the way we're going to get there is when we reduce the time between us falling off the bandwagon and getting back on, that is when we are really getting that habit ingrained in our life. So to start off with, let's say you do 3 days of this habit. Brilliant. You write your gratitude out for 3 days in a row. I'm so proud of you. And then you fall off the bandwagon and then you think, oh, I didn't do it tomorrow, didn't do it yesterday, can't be bothered today. And this kind of escalates and you don't do it for like 5-6 days and you think, should I bother? Yes, bother, get back on. Get back on the bandwagon. So you get back on again and you do another couple of days and you're like, oh, I'm doing really well, and then you fall off again. And then this time round, you get back on after 4 days. and then you fall off again, and you get back on after 2 days. And then you fall off again, and you get straight back on the next day. And then after that, you don't fall off anymore. You have got up so many times, that habit is not going anywhere. So when we build habits, it's really, really hard. And the problem, I believe, and the problem that I struggle with, and the problem I think everyone struggles with, is that we fall off and we don't ingrain this habit, and we beat ourselves up, and then we think, what's the point? The point is you get up and you try again. You keep trying. You keep forgiving yourself, and you keep getting up. And at some point, you will realise that you haven't fallen off again. You're still on. You've got 2 challenges this week. Pretty sure you can guess at least one of them. So your first challenge is, I want you to write down 8 things that you are grateful for every single day. Now, I would recommend and suggest that you do this in the morning and you reflect over the previous 24 hours. But you must just do it when it's best for you. Like, we're all different. I'm definitely a morning person, but you know, if you're an evening person, then that's fine. The important thing is doing it, doing the reflection of gratitude and writing those things down. And when you write them down, when you think about them, when you're reflecting on that 24-hour period, I want you to really sit with that gratitude. So when you think about that cup of tea that you had that was brilliant, sit there and think, oh, that was so good. Like, really let that feeling of gratitude sit on your chest, okay? So you really get into it. As you go through the practice over the next week, you will each day start looking for things to be grateful for. So you might find it quite hard for the first few days, and then there'll be harder days and easier days, but you'll start to notice those things that you're grateful for, like you saw a rainbow on your dog walk, or I don't know, like somebody smiled at you and waved, or somebody dropped something round. Like, it'll be those things that you'll start to spot. That's your first challenge. So 8 things that you're grateful for every single day, okay? Remember, if you fall off the bandwagon, get back up, go again. Forgive yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't think that somebody else is smashing it and you're not. Nothing to do with anybody else. It's all about you. And it's all about you getting up again. You are strong enough to get back up again. Your second challenge is to write a joy list. Okay? I want you to write a joy list of 15 things that bring you joy. It's quite likely, okay, that those things, a lot of them will correlate or be related to what you're grateful for. So a joy you might have on your joy list, having a cup of tea with an amazing view, or having a cup of tea snuggled in a chair, or snuggling with the dog, something like that. It might be on your joy list. And on your gratitude list, you might be like, that amazing cup of tea sat out in the garden. So do you see how they correlate? Now, they don't always have to, because you also may have things on your joy list. Like, for me, my favourite place in the world is a place in Cornwall called Helford Passage, and we have been going there on holiday for years, and I absolutely love, I mean, since I was a kid, like a tiny kid, and we're meant to be going back this summer, and I hope and pray with all my heart that we'll be back there, because we haven't been for a couple of years, and it fills my heart with so much joy when I'm there. It is my favourite place in the entire world. And I flew back from my gap year to go on holiday there. I was in, where was I? America. And I flew home because I literally landed the day we went, and my mum picked me up from the airport and we drove there, and I love that place so much. So obviously that is now on my joy list, but it's not on my gratitude list. I want you to put things on your joy list. Let's get you 15 things. And then I want 7 of those things on your joy list to be achievable. And that's 1 thing per day. So I want you to choose to intentionally get something that was on your joy list and pull it into your day each and every day. So if it is that cup of tea with a view, go do that. You can do that. You can do that, can't you? You can make a great cup of tea and go and stand in your garden, or you can go and make a cup of tea and look out of your window, or you can make a cup of tea in a flask and walk up a hill. You can do that right now, okay? So, but what happens if it was Oggy, Cornwall, that I wanted? I can't go there. But the things that I love about it are going to the pub, sailing, water skiing, laughing with my friends, but also being outside in the kind of dusky twilight and walking along a road with no shoes on. I can do that here. I can walk up and down my village, or I can go and stand outside and walk along my path. I can do that. I can choose, and I can intentionally bring that bit of joy into my life. So, 15 things on your joy list, and 7 of them have to be achievable. I want you to intentionally bring 7 bits of joy into your life over the coming week. 1 thing per day. The downloads are available for both of those. They'll help you, okay? But if you need a hand, you reply to the email and you just come straight over to me. You've got this. Now, I know that we are all in this period of uncertainty, and a lot of us are hoping and praying for our old lives to come back and asking the question, when will life return to normal? And I just want to make something clear. Life is not going to return to the way it was. Our lives will never be the same as they were before this. They can't be. Because you as a person will have changed and developed. The world will have changed. People are changing. And instead of wishing for the old to come back, focus on what you're going to have. Focus on opportunity, focus on excitement, and start that focus with gratitude. Start by being present. Start by feeling grateful for all the things you have now. And sure, if if that makes you really upset, the thought of life not being the same as before, then that's okay. It's okay to grieve for the things that we won't ever have again or whatever. And I don't mean that in a really radical way, but life is going to be different. It is not going to be the same. It cannot be the same. So focus on what you're grateful for and focus on moving forward to being that best version of yourself. Focus on the you that you want to be after this, at the end of this. And start by building your gratitude habit. So gratitude, joy list, and I also really want you to carry on making your bed. I don't know if I mentioned it that much last week, but I really want you to keep making your bed. You should be making your bed every single day. And if you're not, if you fell off that bandwagon, what am I going to say? Get back up and go again. You can do it. You can get back on that bandwagon, because all being well, you will have tomorrow. You will have another day on the other side of sleep where you can try again. So get up and try. Try and build that habit. Build the habit of gratitude. Build the habit of choosing joy. Build the habit of making your bed. Now, I really hope you've enjoyed this lesson. If you have any questions, as I've said a couple of times, hit reply to the email. They'll come straight back to me and I will absolutely do my best to help. And go over to Instagram and join us there. Handle is @Freckles Childcare, and you can connect with me on there. I'm on there quite a lot, so I really want to help you through this. Just remember that I am riding this wave alongside you. I am right next to you. So I'll see you next week. Have a great week. Stay safe. Good luck. And remember, if you fall off the bandwagon, just get back on. Forgive yourself, get up, and go again.